And then we move on to examining the idea of a mud flood. The mud flood reset. This is something that is synonymous with Tartaria. If you think Tartaria, you think mud flood. You think mud flood, you think Tartaria. And this picture here, obviously it's not real, but this is an artistic depiction of the idea of the mud flood, and this was for a museum exhibition showcase in Russia. I don't know what it's Muar Museum in Russia. But it kind of gives you a good idea of what, when people are a little bit exaggerated, but it gives you an idea of when people talk about the mud flood, what they're trying to say is that there is a whole layer of civilization, of history beneath our feet that we just don't know about. We're busy with our own lives, working 9 to 5, trying to survive, trying not to get endgamed, and beneath our feet is our real history. A history that has been maybe not even erased from the history books, just completely unbeknownst, completely forgotten. So we're going to start off with something a little close to home, the Williamson Tunnels in Liverpool. So I went to university in Liverpool. I spent 3-4 years there and very much love Liverpool, love the people, love the place. It's one of the only places that have maintained any sort of original, authentic personality for a community. The Williamson Tunnels are a labyrinth of tunnels and underground caverns under the Edge Hill district of Liverpool in northwest England. They were built in the first few decades of the 1800s. Again, this is all speculative when I'm reading this. This is from the official Williamson Tunnel website, under the control of a retired tobacco merchant called Joseph Williamson. The purpose of their construction is not known with any certainty. Theories range from pure philanthropy. These philanthropists have so much time and money on their hands to just, you know, so friendly of them. Offering works to the unemployed of the district, to religious extremism, to tunnels being an underground haven from a predicted Armageddon. That's something that we will touch upon again later on. Although some of the tunnels have been lost over the years, how'd you lose the tunnels? Okay, a lot of them still exist today under what is now a residential area. Different sections of the tunnels are being cleared and renovated and open to the public. The remaining parts of the labyrinth are closed, with many suspected tunnels yet to be rediscovered. So again, there's just so much more of this than they know, and there's more that they don't know about. The so-called banqueting hall, which is this hall here, 64 feet long, 14 feet wide, and 27 feet high. And the tunnels, the walkable tunnels, 6 feet high, but no one really knows when they were built, who built them, why they were built, and the fact that there's much more of them than we know of. But just look at this, like, again, look at the masonry, look at the like, this is the sort of joinery that we've seen in Fort Jefferson. Same sort of arch design, all red brick, of course. Like, what is going on? So the supposed story is, I might be wrong on this, is that a local was wanting to build something in the back garden. They needed to make a foundation, and as they dug up the back garden, they just found this, just found an entrance into this. They burrowed their way in, and as they kept going, it just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and this is what they found. And this was completely forgotten about, and then they kind of found out that it had something to do with this Williamson character. Yeah, building it for the unemployed. Right. Alright. But again, you see, like, all with this, kind of like machine marks. You know, like, look at these striations, like machine marks on it. Looks very old as well, very old. Look how big that is. You know, building that for the unemployed. What are the unemployed doing? Oh, here we go, get underground. You know, this looks like almost something that you would build for preparation of an apocalyptic event, an Armageddon-like situation. You know, this could fit a number of people in, You know, you could kit this out. I wonder if it must be ventilated as well. Yeah, good old Liverpool. And then just up the road in Manchester, 1911, a group of workmen demolishing some houses on Cumberland Street uncovered an underground passage that led to what has now been termed the Deansgate Tunnels. And Deansgate itself has quite a rich history. It goes back to Roman occupation. So maybe these were Roman tunnels. I don't know. But again, just completely buried. You know, look at this with the bridge. This bridge just completely underneath, you know, underneath Manchester. No one knows. And there are stories of like they built these, or some of these tunnels, not all of these tunnels, because those tunnels they didn't know about at all, but later on for air raid safety. And then I've bricked them all up, coincidentally. I mean, look at the brickwork here. Look at this polymer. It looks like melted. It looks completely mashed, and you can see, like, I don't know if this blue is from the I don't know what it's from. I don't know what sort of chemical reactions happened here. Don't know what this is covering. It almost looks like this is covering some sort of metal maybe behind. Maybe it's like copper and it's on blue. I don't know. Yeah, weigh in, Gents Laboratory. But again, look, you see that same sort of brick where it kind of looks a bit scorched. Now again, you know, Manchester was the epicenter of the Industrial Revolution in the UK at the time. But still, underground, you know, these blacked out bricks looking scorched, and what was going on down here? Leaves. Yeah. And then moving across the pond to buried North America, a number of, if not most, cities, major cities in the United States and North America all have underground tunnels, underground catacombs, just an underground aspect to the city that has mostly been forgotten about. So this is an example here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Seattle, Washington. The story behind the Seattle, Washington underground is that it is the remnants of the 1866 Great Fire, which we will be exploring later on, which doesn't make sense because how does a Great Fire bury something underground? I really don't know. New York City, I believe this is the catacombs underneath St. Patrick's Cathedral. Yeah, okay. Toronto. This was 1915, I believe, these photos were taken. Okay, I mean, some of them may have been repurposed for sewage, irrigation systems, but, you know, it all looks old. All of this just looks old. Cincinnati, Ohio, this was underneath a big... I'm actually going to show you a building later on in Ohio. That it's not the building, but it looks very similar to the building that these tunnels... that when burrowed underground, these tunnels were underneath. A lot of these tunnels connected to these old world buildings like that. They were like the entrance points to these old world buildings. And the same for Manchester. You can access those tunnels through some of the old world red brick buildings, which is, there's loads of them in Manchester. Columbia and South Carolina. And then, you know, these tunnels aren't necessarily tunnels that are related to DUMBs or deep underground military bases. You know, they like to say, oh, you know, these tunnels were used during the Prohibition era, you know, when they were moving around alcohol and other illegal produce and goods, and you're like, yeah, really? Why would you go out of your way to like make something like this just for that? It would be much more primitive. Like, this looks like something that a lot of thought and time has been put into for this. And skilled masonry. Skilled labor was needed to build all of this. This isn't something done as a reactionary action to prohibition. So yeah, we will explore North America in detail a little bit more. And then we move on to the rest of the world, and then we can start to see sort of like external evidence of this mud flood phenomena. A lot of it that we're going to be seeing here is all around like Russia, which is, you know, it makes sense if we were talking about Tartaria. But we see a lot of these buildings that when they are renovating the area and then they sort of dig underneath ground level, you see, you know, it's not just foundation stone, but this would have been, you know, a functional part of the building. You can see, you know, we would have had a window here. You know, we've got window arches. You know, they've obviously had to level it out and put a new, and make that ground level. But look at them digging it out. And just these tunnel systems that are unearthed, you know, layers of red brick and then a different type of material. You've got like column, like almost like Corinthian style columns there as well. The Maui statues in Easter Island, again, look how far down they go. Buried. I don't think they were buried intentionally. Temple, I believe this is the Temple of Apollo when they were unearthing it, but again, look how far submerged this all is. You know, that's a good like 20 plus feet. And then here, just more of them digging out this road here, and what do we find underneath? Just whole parts of this building, windows that have been buried. You know, these bits here are probably more like the foundation of it, but even still, you can still look like there's almost like door frames and that down here. And then look, we see here just some fucked up street, you know, windows just completely half buried. You know, this is definitely not intentional design. You know, they like to tell us that, oh, it's because people of these days had servants, and the servants used to live in the basement. And they had to have a little bit of light, so we gave them a little window. But then it just doesn't explain how, you know, these windows just pop out of the ground the way that they do. It's just not functional for a building design. And then just a little bit more carried on. Got this building here, look, on top, but something more ancient and older, completely buried underneath. Again, all red brick. And then here we've got, you know, some sort of tunnel system of some kind, just completely submerged, forgotten about. This building here, very old world-esque when you're looking at the architectural design. But again, look, you know, we've got ground level there, we go sub-ground level, and then we've got windows that were there. We've got all types of features that would have been the original, would have been used in the original building. And then here we just see windows popping out of the ground. You know, as the ground sort of levels out, you can see that the windows come up more, and then they get submerged more. That's probably how the road, when the mud flood had, you know, kind of resided and sort of like found its base, this is probably what was left of the building. And you have to take a few steps up then. You know, you have to go up a few steps to get to ground level. It's like, why do you need a few steps up to get to ground level? You just always have it at ground level. Just more evidence of, like, here we go, just windows submerged. Here, windows submerged. This is in India, I believe. You know, look at this. This is a good 15 feet high, and just, you know, these entranceways were just completely buried to this part of the building. How high up that goes, I don't know. There might be even more. There might be even more building underneath for all we know. Buried pillars. And then I believe this is in Paris, and as they're like digging this up and they remove all of this like sedimentary rock, it ends up looking like this, where you can start to see like a much deeper, like all the way down to here, there's like presence of construction. Very interesting. I mean, even with Paris, you've got the Paris catacombs, you know, you've got all the underground tunnels there. This building here is a good example. Just, you know, this whole layer that's been submerged underground. And they've had to rebuild a door on ground level, and look, they've even had to bar off that, which was once part of a big window system there. Yeah, Paris, just digging this out, they might tell you, I don't know what the official reason for this picture is, they might tell you it's like, oh, you know, we're constructing underground tube station, railway station, but no, I think just like how they supposedly laid 10 miles of track in one day, I think they just dig this shit out. I think it's already there, it's just buried and they have to dig it out, and then everything's just repurposed. If you enjoyed this presentation and feel inspired to support both yourself and this channel, then head over to primalalchemy.co.uk. Awaken your potential with the world's only visionary health brand. Discover our collection of tonic herbal elixirs, rare crystals, and holistic health technologies. All chosen and created with intention, so you can focus on the energy you bring into your life. Whether you're grounding yourself, seeking clarity, or elevating your routine, Primal Alchemy supports every step of your journey. Use code REBUS10 for 10% off all superfood elixirs at primalalchemy.co.uk.